Well, welcome into the podcast, guys. That was a painful one. Rockets lose in Portland 104 to 103 and literally lose by a fingernail because Tari Eason made a couple of nice plays, an incredible steal with 5.9 seconds left to set with the Rockets down one to set them up for an opportunity to win a second straight game with a buzzer beater. Kevin Durant misses the shot. Tari Eason tips it in for the win. It was called a good shot, but upon review, literally it was in the, at the tip of his fingers as the horn went off and the lights went off. So they overturned that and Portland gets the win. Just a painful game, lots to discuss. I'm here with Jeff Balke. You know him. You've known him for years in Houston legend, frankly. And basically also runs the Believe in Astros. That's BLEAV, correct, Jeff? I want to make sure I spell that right. Astros podcast. So check that out for sure. You can follow him on Twitter at Jeff Balke. Jeff, this was really frustrating. Rockets is the first of a second of two games they're going to play in Portland. They're staying here, and Ime Udoka in post game said, "Yeah, I'm ready for the next game already." And he we'll talk about Ime's comments in a minute. He was not happy. This is just really frustrating to watch the Rockets play in this game, I thought.
To try to channel one of my all-time favorite Rockets, Calvin Murphy, is like, "Mama said there'd be days like this." It's like happens, man. That the NBA is a fickle business, and the Rockets are such an interesting team as a whole. They're a team that at times looks almost invincible, and at other times doesn't. And it really, to me, it just has a lot to do with their consistent inconsistency. I mean, it's really what it boils down to. They don't take a boatload of threes. I mean, they're towards the bottom of the league in 3-point attempts, but they're right at the top in makes. But they sometimes get into a 3-point shooting contest, which they're just not good at. As a if they were a volume 3-point shooting team, I don't think they'd be in the top 10 in 3-point shooting.
Maybe you're right, actually.
I think it's their efficiency that makes them a good 3-point shooting team. Sometimes they get away from that. And when you combine that with an inability to stop a hot player on another team, that's cost them this year on several occasions and almost always in very frustrating fashion.
Yeah, Ime was really upset after the game, or at least he was venting his frustration. I was a little bit surprised that his focus was that the defensive game plan. They held the Blazers to 104 points, but I think it's very clear what he meant was their game plan on Deni Avdija, who scored 41 tonight on 13 of 24 shooting. And a ridiculous, I think 15 free throws. Maybe it was more by the end of the night.
Listen, man, I don't trust the guy with a J in the middle of his name to start with. I don't
right.
But yeah, I mean, the guy couldn't miss. And like your game with look, Ime Udoka, I will credit him this. I mean, I know that the argument, a lot of the pain from Rockets fans is going to be, oh, they couldn't hit shots, and that's true. But the reality is they shouldn't have to. Defensively, they're that good, and they did on too many occasions let Portland get into the teeth of their defense. They created way too many fouls that they probably shouldn't have had. There were some bad rotations at times, some closeouts that didn't happen as quickly as they would like them to, and you could see it. There were definitely some moments. And listen, the Rockets missed 9 free throws too. I mean, they missed 9 free throws, and like I think I counted approximately 2,372 missed 3-pointers.
Yeah,
I mean, those are bad, but he's right. Defensively, they weren't great.
You bring up a good point because to me, the number one story out of this is the 3-point shooting because they were, I don't know where they stand right now, one of the most efficient 3-point shooting teams, but not high volume at all. As a matter of fact, for most of the year, they were probably the lowest volume 3-point shooting team in the league. The last 3 games, which happened to be with Sengun out, right? I think you could say some of that's related to Sengun, but some of it is just missing a lot of open shots. They are in the low 20s from three. That like they got lucky with KD hitting that shot against Phoenix, right? I mean,
Right.
they could have easily lost that game the way it went back and forth. They could have easily won it too earlier.
Right.
This game, like you just as you pointed out, the 9 missed free throws,
Right.
8 for 36 from three, and
Horrible.
Jabari, Tari, Reed just misfiring.
And a
You know,
man who can't make threes to begin with, right? And
the
he's
yeah,
left out there in the corner all by himself. You know, I'll tell you this, Dave. Like, I honestly think that when Shingun is not in there, it's like when if Durant wasn't in there, it makes them just a less efficient offensive team, and so they end up taking more kinds of, I don't want to call them reckless shots, but let's just say they take more. It looks more like the Jalen Green Rockets than it does the Kevin Durant, Alperen Sengun Rockets because they they suddenly start finding. I mean, when you look at the game, I haven't looked at the stats. I need to dig into them a little more closely. I was actually writing something about this week. Um, it seems to me the more three pointers they shoot, the lower their percentage tends to be, and so when you've got guys like Shingun in there who shoots boatloads from inside the 3 point arc and is a very efficient scorer in the paint, you saw Kevin Durant tonight. Like, I don't, people, if they're not paying attention, Kevin Durant is good, man. This
yeah,
dude is good. He is watching him.
amazing,
It's like watching any great. Yeah, I mean, it's like watching Akeem. It's like
an
watching.
artist.
He's
Yeah,
brilliant, and he is the reason they are in these games because of, and it's not because of his, it's because of his efficiency is really what it boils down to. And this team is just not very efficient without Alperen Şengün, so they start taking shots that probably are a little more ill-advised and probably shots that they shouldn't be taking. It's also a time when you're going to miss Fred VanVleet because while Van Vliet wasn't a great three-point shooter, he was more accurate and able than a guy like Amen Thompson, who a lot of times he's just left out on an island, and he's just not a good three-point shooter. I don't know if he'll ever be, but he certainly is not good now.
yeah. I wanted to go down the list of some of those guys. We'll talk about Reed, we'll talk about Tari.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start with Jabari because I really feel like Jabari's had a good season, but I will say, other than the second half in the Phoenix game,
Mm-hmm.
where he kind of came back the game before this one, he's been awful in the last 3 games. Like, and tonight I was talking about this with some friends during the game. He goes through these stretches probably every year where it literally looks like he has forgotten how to shoot. Like he's just tossing it up there. He's not consistently short. Like for example, Reed tonight. Reed missed a lot of shots. He was consistently short. He was taking them pretty long. He was pretty consistent. Jabari was kind of all over. He wasn't like way off,
Mm-hmm.
but he'd be off to the right, off to the left, short, long.
Yeah.
His shot was a little bit flat. And tonight, 2 of 13, 1 of 7 from three. Jabari has to make shots,
Mm-hmm.
period, to be effective. Yes, his defense, I think, is basically better than I think most people believe. But
Oh,
I
for sure.
understand if you want to criticize it because Tari and DFS and Amen are, truly elite. But I think Jabari is very versatile defensive player. But he's got to hit shots. I mean, he's not a high level creator. We know that. But he's got to hit shots. That's where he brings the value. There was a
Yeah.
mid range pull up from the free throw line, wide open, just
Yeah.
bricked it tonight.
Yeah, he's short up. Listen, there are games where you're just not going to shoot well. This is certainly one
True.
of them. It's not like this never happens in the NBA. It happens. I
No,
do
you're right.
think though with Jabari, you make a good point. Jabari is a much improved player from where he was last year. And I think specifically offensively, defensively, I think he's been very solid. He is a better offensive player, but Jabari is a guy that still requires spacing on the offensive end of the floor. He's a guy that is not going to get his own shot for the most part, depending on who's guarding him. And he's not a guy that's going to like he has got that little turnaround jumper from the corner that he started to take and make a little bit more. But he is a guy that needs to be set up by his teammates. And I think Alperen Şengün is a guy that does that as well as anybody. Şengün is a really, we can't. I don't want to overemphasize and say the Rockets shouldn't be winning games without Alperen Şengün on the floor. They have to compensate. Injuries are what they are, but he is an incredibly important part of facilitating how this offense plays.
Yeah.
And they can play hard defensively as much as they want, But when he's not in there, they just don't. They are just not as efficient and is not as
Move the ball.
good offensively. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. Amen. There's struggle. There was a time tonight where Amen just blew by a guy to the right, had the
Yeah.
clear lane to the basket. Nobody near him, just lost the ball right
By
out
the
of his
way,
hands, went straight out of the back of the underneath the goal. You're
did
like,
that DFS layup get blocked, or
I'm
did he
just
just?
about to bring that up.
What
I was just,
was that?
I think it's his leg. I think it's bothering him. It was 8 minutes left. For those who don't
was just
know,
like
I think it would have given him the lead or tied the
It would have
game.
tied the game, I think.
Tied the
That's
game.
right.
Fast break layup. Amen hits him 2-on-1 transition. He has a layup, and he just, when I say flat tire, I mean
It was
a
yeah.
flat
I mean,
tire.
it looked like he laid it up into the net. Like he didn't even
Yeah.
get near the rim. It was just like, oh.
Yeah, that was just one of those
tough to
plays. And then
watch.
immediately on the other end, they hit a three. And there was another play I actually posted on Twitter. I don't even want to call it play. This was the microcosm of the whole game where the Rockets got offensive rebound after offensive rebound, missed 4 threes, and it was everybody.
Yeah,
I
they
think
missed
Tari,
5 shots on that one end of that one possession.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
Tari, KD, Amen, and Reed all missed threes. And this is on the same possession. They got the board every time. And then it ended in a Tari backing up fadeaway shot from about 8 feet. He missed.
Right.
They go down and hit a three. You're just, oh my gosh. The threes tonight was just out of control. And that's what's frustrating. I think, I'm of the belief that with Sengun out, you got to be able to hit threes and you got to be able to defend. I think you become a better defensive player when Sengun's out, but you are correct for sure that without Sengun, like, your offense is a little bit of a mess for sure. You don't have that facilitator.
I
really.
think that's, again, this is where they miss Fred VanVleet, because when Alperen Sengun isn't in there to facilitate, they don't really have another guy that can really just man that position. You don't want Durant as that guy. Durant is the guy that needs to have the ball in his hands and shooting it. And Amen Thompson is clearly not quite ready for that role. Nor is Reed Shepherd. So when you look, you're like, it does leave you in a deficiency, because you're relying on really Alperen Sengun to make your offense move. And it's a very, very tough spot to be in. I mean, I am not, look, I've been watching the Rockets basketball since the 70s. Good Lord. And, I mean, I'm dating myself significantly. I was very young, all right, back then.
I came in the next decade.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly. But the thing is that I'm not a person who gets like overly freaked out by losses, individual losses. It's a long season. A lot will happen. Look, the Thunder are going through their own problems right now. They're not exactly running off with the Rockets are within a game of second place in the Western Conference. They're still a very, very formidable team. And they're still a team that probably will get better as the season goes along. Whether they make a trade or not, I'd say it's very likely that they're going to get better, because hopefully they'll get healthy and all that. But games like this are really frustrating because they hit 1 or 2 threes, right? They hit half of the free throws they miss. And this is a completely different game. They win this game, and they probably win it fairly easily, because there are plenty of times, like you mentioned, where they miss shots, and then Portland goes down the other end and gets a three or gets an easy basket and one. It's just a very frustrating game to watch, and it's very frustrating because they made us stay up until midnight. Like you said,
and they're going to do it again.
Yeah,
on a weekend. It's funny. So we talked a little about Jabari. I want to talk about Tari. I thought Tari made a couple of great plays down the stretch, but fantastic. 5 of 18 tonight, 2 of 8 from 3, where he's shockingly been leading the league in 3-point percentage at just under 50% this year. That's going to come, I don't want to say crashing down, but it's certainly going to dip after tonight. Yeah. 2 of 8. Obviously just inefficient tonight. And that he wasn't, alone with that. Like I said, Jabari. Reed this was a carbon copy in a way. Reed didn't have quite the offensive efficiency he had against Phoenix, but tonight, 3 of 10, 1 of 7 from 3. Like I said, it was short often. But what I wanted to bring up with Reed was, again, we saw the sime thing where Ime Udoka went, I think mid-4th with Aaron Holiday. Out of the blue. Aaron Holiday had only played 1 minute the whole game. And I think it was late third quarter when there was a switch. And then he came in for 3 minutes or so in that stretch, kind of replacing Reed.
At
So
that
you
point,
can
you
tell
had
there's
to.
still a trust issue there. There's
Oh,
still
well,
a,
and not just
yeah,
that, but there's a shooting issue. I mean, you've got to get somebody out there who can hit a shot. And then, of course, Aaron Holiday couldn't either. So it didn't really help. There's definitely, I think, some trust issues there. Certainly, I mean, Reed didn't play that much last year. He's, sort of rookie and a half at this point. But I think the other thing really is that when you look at Reed Shepard's game, like he's certainly advanced significantly from where he was, but this is not, he is going to have ups and downs. Tari Eason is going to have, these are guys that are going to, because they are not consistent. That's why they're not frontline NBA, all NBA type players, right? You can expect them to continue to be up and down. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. But you don't want to see up and down from collectively. That's the thing. Like maybe Tari Eason has a bad night. Maybe Jabari Smith has a bad night. Not everybody. And that's what happened tonight.
that's right.
Everybody had a bad game tonight, except for Kevin Durant, who apparently is, essentially walks on basketball water at this point. But thanks for mentioning. Somebody said my
It
audio was
definitely
a
just
little low,
cranked up.
so
Definitely cranked up.
I turned it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like when you're dealing with this, you can't have it's very reminiscent of when you see any sport where just everybody goes cold, and you're like, why is everyone cold? Like it's like a disease. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's what happened to the Rockets tonight. They just basically no one could make a shot, and when nobody can make a shot, you're in trouble. What Jeff Van Gundy said? It's a make or miss league. That's the deal. I
Yeah.
love so Jeff Van Gundy has some of the best Van Gundyisms of all time. You don't ignore in victory what you wouldn't ignore in defeat. One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, you're right. That's actually a great point. And I like that you brought up as well the OKC and frankly San Antonio lost a few games that they should have that I was stunned that they lost.
It's January in the NBA. Isn't that what happens? Like it's like all of a sudden teams make runs that you didn't expect, and teams that were winning really there's the middle of winter is brutal in the NBA, and it's a slog.
Yeah, it really is. Like you said, Jabari, Tari, Reed, DFS really as far as shooting. And I don't know if people were talking to us in the chat, but I saw people saying, "Hey, it's ridiculous to blame DFS." We weren't blaming DFS. We're just highlighting some of the things that just didn't go wrong, didn't go the Rockets' way. And that's what's frustrating about this. I mean, Portland had won 8 of 12 coming into this game. Donovan Clingan has progressed rapidly. He was pretty good tonight and has shown a 3-point shot, which is insane. Coming into this game, his last 20 games was hitting almost 50% from three. Kind of like Tari Eason, frankly, like just a huge jump.
Yeah.
And it showed early tonight. By the way, shout out to Steven Adams. I thought some of his closeouts on Clingan were amazing.
Tremendous.
I was like, yeah,
he was running. I was like, all right, Jason Momoa, get out there. Like he was like moving. I mean, and for a big guy like that, there were a couple of times where he actually like fell down on his closeouts. Like, yeah, he was really out there hustling. I was very impressed. I mean, as usual, Steven Adams is giving you that energy no matter what.
Yeah. I love Steven Adams. I just the guy doesn't require the ball to be effective, does so many great things, sets great screens. But yeah, it just, I guess what I was getting at is Portland's coming into this game had won 8 of their last 12. I think 5 of their last 6 as well. They're playing better. And Avdija is a legit all-star this year. Like he looks like an engine type. Yeah, I know. He was amazing.
It's like Peja Stojakovic out there. It's like that's yeah. It's like it just. I mean, he's obviously really really good, but kind of shockingly so. I mean, kind of not like you watch him the last year or two. I mean, he's been good, but like not like this. He's playing on a completely different level.
Yeah, and I think Portland could be. I don't think they're going to be an upset team this year, like in the playoffs. But they could be sneaky in the sense they haven't even had Scoot Henderson back yet, and they are also missing Jrue Holiday, who's been out for a long while, and he's a guy who should impact winning right now. I guess my point is you played this team, which has been playing pretty well lately, this close, and you look at all the things that went wrong as far as the 3-point shooting and the free throws. It's like just one of those things to get fixed.
And on the road, the Rockets have played fewer home games than any team in the NBA, and that's going to balance things out. The goal in sports, period, well, maybe not the NFL because it's weird, is essentially you want to win the majority of your games at home, and you want to go about 50-50 on the road, right? And so the Rockets they've been out there playing a boatload of road games. They're going to start getting some more home games in. It'll help them. I don't know how you feel about this, man, but I am not a big fan of the home sort of series, like almost like a baseball series where you play multiple games in the same city.
Been doing it the
I,
last couple of
I
years.
yeah, I know I get why they're doing it from a scheduling standpoint, and I understand there's some interest in that. Plus, you have the whole NBA Cup thing that kind of screws things up. But I don't know. I feel like it's really tough to beat a team multiple times in a row in their building, right?
Saw it with
Especially
Utah earlier this year.
yeah,
The Rockets.
correct.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was going to bring up was Utah. It's just hard to do. It's just not an easy task for any team, even if you're playing a team that's not very good. And so, I mean, unless unless you're playing like there's a couple teams, maybe it would be a problem.
Yeah.
But it's just tough when you have to play them back to back in their own arena. It feels weird. And to me, this is one of those instances where I could see the Rockets coming back and blowing Portland out on
I'm
Friday.
hoping.
I mean,
I'm
I could
hoping.
totally see that. Just because I feel like this is going to stick in their craw, which it should.
Yeah, what concerns me a little bit is they do have Kamara, or if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know if it's Kamara, but
Kamara.
however you exactly say it. But
Yeah,
he is.
That's what they said on the broadcast anyway.
Yeah,
So I assume
yeah,
they're
exactly.
right.
An excellent defensive player.
Yes.
On ball and the kind of defensive wing that you can throw at KD and at least make it difficult. Now, KD was 14 to 26 tonight and did hit some crazy shots to get the Rockets back into it as well.
The guy's ridiculous.
He really is. Kevin Durant has been on a heater and has been awesome. But it's just so funny. Even before that game winner the other day, he was 1 of 11 from 3. So your point, these guys can have bad shooting nights.
Oh, yeah. And we'll look, and KD's like, I wrote about this the other day. He's just cruising along at 50, 40, 90 again. Like, that's crazy. The fact that at 37 years old, he's still averaging 90% from the free throw line, 50% from the field, and 40% from three. That's crazy. Like, it's bonkers. And I think he's maybe a half a percentage point below 90 on free throws. But yeah, he's just listen, tonight without Kevin Durant, they lose by 20.
Yeah.
I mean, this is he was literally that good.
And it's really and I don't want to get into the deep philosophical like team building aspect, but he's 37. It's kind of like the Warriors and Curry in a way, because he's such a special player. It's like, you got to go for it. Well, you also have these young players that you're grooming. They believe highly in Reed Shepherd. Love Jabari, love Tari. Tari obviously has the extension, all that stuff. But, and we don't have to dive into this, but it is going to raise those questions with the trade deadline a month away of, do you have to do something to go for it? I personally believe no. I don't think they're going to do anything major.
I don't think they will either.
But
I think, listen, I understand you have to go for it, right? I do understand that, but you also have to have some trust in the process. You have to have some trust in the fact that, okay, we've drafted well. We still have a boatload of good quality draft picks and swaps. We still have great depth in terms of not just depth in terms of talent, but depth in terms of assets on a team. You don't go into panic mode at the halfway point if you're sitting at like 4th in the Western Conference or whatever. I understand why fans get upset about it. I understand why they freak out. I really do. I do it too. I mean, God knows you and I have talked about how back in the day, I mean, how many remote controls probably did we break, in the midst of those championship runs? A lot, but I think the thing is that when you're definitely a good team, and the Rockets are absolutely a good team, and you're playing a long season, you're going to have struggles. And the best thing, you can't just go out and freak out. Like, I do think they could make a small move. I would love to see them make a move for somebody who might give them a little extra shooting, on the outside. Give them another option, especially if Dorian Finney-Smith is not fully healthy and is going to struggle to get healthy. I think it would be good to have somebody that could shoot. But I'm not a big believer in like, let's just dump this whole thing and start over. It normally doesn't work. I mean, that's the reality is it usually doesn't work. It's worked a few times, but very rarely. Most of the time when you do that, it's because you're preparing for next year, not because of what you're dealing with right now.
Yeah. And CJ McCollum was a popular name as far as a buyout candidate because he's expiring at $30 million. He's on a terrible team. He just got traded.
right.
to Atlanta, so he's not going to be probably a
I
buyout
don't know about
candidate.
CJ McCollum though. Defensively, I'm just not sure
Oh
how he
no.
fits into this team. That's the thing. I believe very strongly in that this team is in the idea of balancing your defense and offense. I know offense is fun, like it's like in baseball, chicks dig the long ball, right? But for me, like you have to have balance. Look at the Celtics teams that won when Ime Udoka was there. Well, sort of. Those teams had that tremendous balance, right? Great defensively, great. That's what Oklahoma City is. They're a team that's top 10 in both offense and defense. I think that's
Switch.
how you win. That's how Golden State was. I think that's how you win in this league. Is you have to be balanced on both ends of the floor. And I think they are just a tremendous defensive team still. And I think that, offensively, they're just going to have to find their equilibrium when they don't have all their, bullets in the chamber.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't have with Alperin.
And again, maybe things could change in the next 30 days. I don't think, but
True.
my understanding or belief is that they are going to be very conservative now, but they're going to give this team, as constructed, a real shot in the playoffs.
Mhm.
And then if it doesn't go well, kind of like how it didn't go well last year as the number 2 seed, you might see a bigger change. But we'll see. That's time.
I think that's
cross
for
that
sure.
bridge.
Of course, look, they made a huge change already in the offseason.
Right.
I mean, like, if anybody was clamoring for them to make a huge change at the halfway point, they made a huge change in the offseason. The biggest one probably in the NBA after the Luka deal last year, by getting Kevin Garnett. I mean, that was part of the deal. If what they do is go back to the first round of the playoffs, and this time they play with a guy who has experience, multiple guys who have experience, then it should be better. And if the goal this time is like, let's go as far as we possibly can, maybe if you can get to the Western Conference Finals, even if you don't get to the finals, that's what you're trying to do. It's progress. It's not meant to be an all at once kind of thing. It takes some time. You're right. The clock is ticking with KD, which was one of my concerns with making a deal for him. But good Lord, he's so good. I'm not sure how you can. I don't know how you could defend not having him on this team.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
That's just it. And there's, as I know, I keep seeing on Twitter and these debates about Jalen Green versus Kevin Durant. It's not like, and this is no disrespect to Jalen Green. It is not, because Kevin Durant is just amazing. He's better than the vast majority of players in this entire league. So it's not fair for Jalen or really any other player, Sengun, anybody, to be compared to KD because he's that good. But what I'm getting at is the debate about the trade is the age thing. So it's just a matter of, you have this window with a very special player. We'll see how this plays out. But I mean, without him tonight, they would have been in trouble.
Kevin Durant offensively might be one of the best 10 or 12 players ever to play basketball. I mean,
exactly.
On the offensive end of the floor, he's just insane. And so right now, my feeling is that this sucked. This was who wants to stay up until tomorrow to watch a game that ends like that? Nobody. But the fact of the matter is that this is a team that is still very good, and it's a team that's going to win more than its fair share of games this year, barring an injury. And I mean, because look, you lose anybody else to injury right now, they will be in trouble. But assuming Alperin Şengün's ankle it behaves itself and he's able to come back within a couple of weeks, you hold the line as best you can and you move on from there and get your main horses back and then see where you can take it.
Yeah, there was good news before the game. Ime spoke about it, said swelling's down, pain's down. They think he'll have him a little bit before then. He said check back in a week. I just in looking at it, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back against OKC on the 15th. But Rockets with the loss tonight, I don't think necessarily they fell. Actually, I think they did. They're the 6th seed tonight after this one. Minnesota's ahead of them. The Lakers are ahead of them. Lakers are probably frauds. That's just my personal belief. I think the Rockets will pass the Lakers, although they have, a guy in the playoffs should elevate them in Luka. But Minnesota's good. And Phoenix is not far behind the Rockets, and they certainly played them pretty close the other day. So Rockets better pick it up is what I'm getting at here. They have games that they can win here coming up. They got Chicago. They've got another game against Portland. So they got to pick it up here. And it's got to start Friday night against Portland with knocking down some triples in
That's
against the Blazers.
Listen, man, I saw somebody post earlier in one of the chats that people said that with Sengun, they're like shooting whatever 43%. Without him, they're shooting like 21%. I mean, it's a from three, and
In the
that's
last couple games,
I don't know. I saw
That doesn't
somebody
sound
put a
right.
stat up. I don't know if it's right or not, but I do know that when you're shooting, when you have the Rockets don't have as nearly as big of a margin for error on offense as they do on defense. On defense, there are times when they can sort of sputter a little bit defensively and still absolutely destroy you, like tie you to a train track and watch you get mauled. But offensively, they don't have that margin. So they lose one of their better players or they have an off shooting night. It's a struggle for them because they're just not a great offensive team. They can be very efficient. And part of that is because they're the best offensive rebounding team of the last probably 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge part of it. I mean, what was they shot like something like 15 more shots than or 10 more shots than Portland in the fourth quarter, something crazy. So that is their calling card, and so they're going to be good on their margin for success on offense is pretty small. And so when they have a night where they struggle from three, or they have a night where they turn the ball over a boatload, or they have a night, and they're missing one of their better offensive players, it's harder for them to win in games like this, especially against a pretty hot Portland team and who's playing really well right now.
Yeah, I see Aaron Dell C or whatever saying I can't take it, or that's Sengun. I'm looking at right here. Sengun, when he's off the floor, Rockets are shooting 39.5% from three. This is before tonight's game.
Mm-hmm.
When he's on the floor, 37.2%. He must be talking about the games that he's missed or something, the 4 or 5 games. That's all I can think of. When Sengun's on the floor, when he's off, it hasn't been a significant difference, but it has been the last 3 games. Certainly they're shooting in the low 20% from three this whole time. So,
and listen, it's not one guy's responsibility to fix the entire team's shooting woes, nor is it, the entire team's responsibility to have the one guy help them fix all their problems. But listen, it's the same way if anybody's missing on your team. When one of your best players is not playing, and Alperen Sengun is one of their best 2 or 3 players, of course you're not going to be as good. I mean, that's just the reality. You take an all-star out of the lineup, it just makes you worse. I mean, there's no really debating that. I know there's a lot of argument with people who are like, oh, people are pro Sengun or anti Sengun. I don't understand any of those arguments at all. That feels like 5th grade arguments to me. Like, you need all your best players, right? And if they're not playing well, you move on and you get other best players. That's why it's a team sport, right? If you don't have your best players, you're not going to be very good. That's just part of the deal. So when Alperen Sengun is not playing, yeah, the Rockets are worse. Of course they are. Just like if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not playing in Oklahoma City, they're not going to be as good. That's just the reality of it. So I think that we can all agree that Alperen Sengun is a very good player. The Rockets are very lucky to have him, and the Rockets are a much better team when he is on the floor. When he is not, these are the kind of results that sometimes are going to happen. They should still be able to win a lot of games without him, but not always.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be matchups where it's needed. 104, 103 Rockets fall tonight. Jeff, appreciate you doing this tonight.
No problem.
You can follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff Balke. Also, follow the Believe in Astros podcast. That's BLEAV. A lot of great stuff on the Astros. So definitely follow Jeff there. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Yeah. Unfortunately, Rockets fall short. They will face this exact same team on Friday. We'll be back then. Appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.